I don't understand why they want to develop so much. I really don't.
It's ruining kind of the character of, the village of White Rock.
Even my parents' house, they bought it for I think $200,000, but if they were to sell it now, it would have been $2.8 million.
Since my parents grew up around here, they could afford one. I don't think I'm going to be able to unless it's an apartment or something.
The population of the peninsula has grown too quickly as far as the services, the hospitals, the schools, etc. that can accommodate it.
I've been here since '58. When you look out at the water, it's the same. When you turn around and look toward the ocean, it's changed. And it's not as friendly either. It's not as friendly.
It's completely different, and I like it way better. I don't feel like people feel that kind of home, kind of togetherness thing that there once was.
It's really built up really fast. It's getting really crowded and busy down here, and it's not that safe anymore.
And what wasted hands. Well, what I noticed is the restaurants have changed hands.
In the future, we will be the ones who have to deal with all the problems this is going to cause. So on behalf of my entire age group, thank you.
Hi there. I'm from a small town in Canada. Well, it used to be small. I'm a witness to what's happening to it now, or what's happened to it. I was away, I guess, for a while. I left in 2017. It's a whole other story why I ended up being away for around 6 years. But I got back. I'm here, I said. But I got back in 2023. And it feels like I've been away 25 years. And in a way, I've returned to a different place. They say you can't come home again. But this, what is this transformation? We didn't want this. Who are all those people in this intersection? It wasn't like this before. My friend's family lives just a block from here. They used to, at least. I hardly saw anyone from India here when I left. A few years later, and it's crowds. I'm the only local on the bus. See those towers? They weren't there. We used to have a height restriction. That's one change. Here is a house that is part of my community. It was built in 1948, sold in 1976 for $43,000 Canadian, again in 1983 for $64,000, and in 2021 for $1.45 million. One bathroom, 2 bedrooms, 2,000 square foot house, 10,000 square foot lot. Its next door neighbor's house was built a year earlier. 3 bedrooms, 3.5 bathrooms. It's possible the same family owned it from 1947 to 1993 when they sold it for $225,000. 6 years after that for the same price. In 2012, it sold for $709,000. And in 2021, $1.5 million. On the same street, this house was built in 1950. It has 3 bedrooms and 2.5 bathrooms. In 2023, its price was assessed at $1.7 million. A little further down the same street, this house has 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms and was built in 1931. It sold in 2022 for $2.5 million. The 2025 assessment for this house, $1,637,000. This house was bought in 1985 for $122,000. It was then sold in 1998 for $275,000.
Not really affordable.
What do you think of the prices going up here so much? And
I think it's insane.
And it's becoming quite unaffordable. Do you think that it'll be sort of the children of the Canadian families here that have grown up ready to find a place of their own?
Well, everybody's moving away because they can't afford it. So we have kids, adult kids, young adult kids that won't be able to afford living up here.
Yeah. Do you think that's right?
No.
More than today, you used to be able to buy a house using money you earned from local work.
Well, I was raised, born here. Years ago, a one-story house would have been $100,000, but today it would have been like around the millions. So yeah, it's a bit difficult to buy a house.
Growing up on my street, the mums and dads were a salesman, an accountant, a store clerk, a teacher, a carpenter, a small business owner, and so on. Some people who have family help manage to stay in the area, and there are a few extra rich Canadians, but not enough to buy up entire towns. So who is doing the buying? Those in power have allowed housing prices to stay high and rise, choosing a global market over national borders, caring not about the Canadian people. This is a brochure left on my parents' doorstep in 2017. At that time, there were for sale signs on almost every block. Middle-class Canadian families with roots moving out. Newly arrived rich families from China moving in. For sale sign after for sale sign after for sale sign. Speaking with a real estate agent, I asked him how many Canadians came by to view a listing. Basically none. It was all, or nearly all, foreigners. If houses were being sold to only Canadians, then you could not have a town full of million-dollar houses. The prices would match what people can pay, and so Canadians would have houses with yards again. But when the government opens it up to the world, via immigration and foreign nationals buying from abroad, there's enough rich people to buy, and the prices stay high and get higher. It doesn't take many of the 1.5 billion Chinese people to buy 10 houses on your block. And in recent years, the wealthy from India, as well as other places, have moved in too. Often one of our parents' or grandparents' houses is bought and then demolished, and a house in the foreign style is put in its place.
The one down on State, and to me, that's not nice. It's different. Cultures have their things. Other people, he has 3 houses. 100 or 200 acres they have it here in Abbotsford. They're from India.
These foreign-style houses were not here when I left.
I just think it's the wrong kind of change.
Do you feel like that's right? That people are being pushed out? Maybe people that grew up here, been here a long time, or even people that, yeah.
Even I was looking at, it's funny because Google Maps now has the time where you can go back in time and look at different dates. And I was looking at how different, even just right here as well, like right by, like this street wasn't here.
Lot sizes are also being shrunk to fit in more units on a previously single lot.
Well, what about your view? I mean, you were right next to the woods for so long, and
Yeah, well, what can you say? Can you say? Nothing. You know, that's the city wants homes, and we did go and protest, but that was it. Spoke to the mayor. He said, "Oh no," he said, "we want more homes, more homes, more homes."
This gentleman, along with others, helped lead the environmental protection effort to make sure the new construction stayed a certain distance away from the creek.
They wanted to develop back to here, and we said, "No, no way, doing that." So we fought them for a long time, but that's what we got. Yeah.
There was a petition from neighbors against the project, and while much of the woods was cut down, less units and greater distance was won.
It's flipped a few times, and it was supposed to be 13 homes, so now it's going to be.
so for these new homes, do you think local Canadian families, like the kids that grow up here and are looking for their own place, will be able to afford these houses?
Sadly, no.
If we are not selling our homes to developers with their foreign clients, they still cram in new units in our neighborhoods.
I'd rather see
family house with a yard.
My town has been a place of detached houses, beach cabins, or family homes. Now there is a sudden appearance of blocks and blocks of multi-story units. This is something I didn't see before. After being hit with the extreme population change, it is one of the next things I noticed, along with the towers.
I like to think there's still kind of the small town core here, but
The problem is if we all move into apartments or townhouses, nobody wants to have a bunch of kids in those confined spaces. Imagine having kids in one of those blocks. What are you going to sit in the room all day?
I've been away and then I came back and I'm shocked.
Yeah, I know.
This is a different way of living than life in a Canadian suburb that it's paving over. 101, 102, 103, 104.
Here, is it French Canadian accent?
Yeah. You know, they say we need housing. Yeah, but not for the regular people.
Yeah, absolutely.
This housing is not being built for us. Canadians are not having 6 children a couple. We do not have this demand. This new town being built over our town is not intended for us.
Our population growth is all immigrants.
In raw numbers, 2021 was the record for the most foreigners brought into Canada in a single year. That record was then broken in 2022, and then again in 2023, and then again in 2024. Each year, a higher number of foreign nationals brought into the country. And these millions of people from abroad each need a place to stay. All these squished-in units you're seeing on screen are unappealing, shocking, a complete transformation from the suburbs I departed from only a few years earlier. All of this is completely new, popped up, and built over top of my town.
One-bedroom apartment is like $700,000. I cannot afford that. I mean, don't tell me it's for the middle class.
Apparently there was an old house here.
Yes, I always used to deliver newspapers to like that high. Yeah. One up and the next minute it was flattened.
Rich people come in and the poorer Canadians have to get out.
100%.
It shouldn't be that way.
All right, and I grew up here, my parents already.
All wrong politics, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think I could right now.
My family moved away from this area and then moved back right before this, or like right at the start of kind of the surge of the housing cost ramp up. So even for like a family of 5, my parents do like relatively okay for themselves. Like we live in a townhouse and like no complaints. I love where I live, but even like 5 years prior, say, we would have been able to live in somewhere that's much roomier. And for like youth and like people my age, I'd say it's kind of a scary prospect, the idea of like affordability out here for sure. Like I know a lot of people are resorting to moving to the interior or more close to Abbotsford, Chilliwack, those areas.
Yeah.
Just because like out here, it's just really not feasible when you're like in your early 20s, like looking for somewhere to like start a life and like settle down some roots.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a daunting thing, but at the same time, like there's nothing really you can do. You just gotta put your head down and work more, make more. It's
Guess so, yeah.
The 3 of them quit because they say we cannot afford to live here. So something is very wrong. We just don't want all the Walmart of the world, you know. We need all the little guy. It's sad, it's very sad.
Well, actually, it's really changed in the last 10 years. I think they're about 15.
I rises of that, especially in this area, kind of taken away from the ambience
white rock.
Like the small town feel.
Yeah, you can see it. It's grown too much.
The Don Bosa Tower, there's new 2 towers. When I went to look to buy one.
Oh.
Anyway, well, I went to look to see what they were. It was all sold before construction. 99% were foreigners. They told me. The sales agent said, sorry, but they didn't even open a sale office, nothing.
Do you think that's right?
No, but the only one who can stop again is the government.
Right. So it's not like we're rescuing the poor of foreign countries.
Like we are doing, no, and it's not like we're doing anything for the middle class in Canada.
I work with people that are even younger than me, and they're not happy at all.
No.
Like most of them are either staying at home much later than they wanted to, or some moved out, but they're just making it.
Just making it.
To have a really tiny place that they couldn't have a family, and so it's, people are
struggling.
Renting. That's changed too since 2017. The cost has gone up considerably. The overwhelming majority of landlords for places currently listed are not from here. So wealthy foreign citizens buy up our property and then rent out rooms to us so we can stay in our hometowns. The layout and decor in many cases are also not of my community. And another new thing that I never saw before, listings for half a room. You can rent some of the space in a bedroom, rent one of the mattresses on the ground, and the other mattress or mattresses will be other tenants in the same bedroom as you. And that can still cost you $600 a month. Newcomers bought one of the homes of my childhood friends. They now have their living room divided into 2 so-called bedrooms and have those listed for rent online. In my time back, someone suggested I rent half a room. Someone else suggested I live in a trailer park and rent an RV. Someone else shared the idea his friend had of living out of a car, to then possibly shower in public washrooms. I wonder how many people are doing these things now in my hometown. People who perhaps grew up when I did, went to my high school, perhaps went to the same university as me too. Locals are reluctantly moving, not only due to cost of living, but also quality of life, loss of community with demographic change. Some local people are being displaced from our town, from the area, and even from the province and the country. News reported that 1 in 2 young people, and 1 in 3 people generally, are considering leaving the province. Thousands already have. Many stay at home with their parents well into adulthood, depend on family to make it through. What about those without family support? Some of our people are pushed into other places.
I grew up here since 1971.
Yeah, it's pretty different now. My biggest concern is the situation. It's very bad, especially, well, I don't know especially, but I know this area has become really bad. And they're just living everywhere. And I feel for them. My heart breaks, but something's got to be done.
I could cry when I see they have to sit out on the road in the night cold. I never saw so many people homeless like in the last 5 years.
Me too. Yeah, no, coming back, because I had like 2017 in my head, and yeah, I don't remember, maybe one homeless person by the Semi-Annual Mall there, and that's it. Now there's all kinds of homeless.
Yeah, they say they're on trucks. Yeah, okay. Some are on trucks, some cannot afford the rent.
They used to have a couple of guys that came into here, but they sort of shoot them along. There's been a couple over in Ruth Johnson Park, Centennial. Yeah, and there's guys that you'd be amazed. I'm not sure. I'm an early walker, and I see guys sleeping in sleeping bags. The other morning, I saw them down in front of the library. That's a reflection of our community. It's a reflection of the guilt and poverty.
was away the last years, and I recently came back, and I see a lot more homeless people than I ever saw before.
Oh yeah, it's like quadrupled. I don't know. I don't know what's happening.
My bank never used to lock its outer doors. This allowed people to use the ATM outside of business hours. Now the doors are locked. I saw this notice outside of a chain sandwich shop. I went to this shop sometimes as a teen, and it just wasn't like this. It wasn't like this just a few years ago either. For the first time in my life in my hometown, and it was when paying for my groceries, I was told to be careful walking around outside here. A few people told me it's not so safe. This town has always been a safe place, but I've seen threatening behavior here now. In the early days of being back, there was a murder at the beach in my town. It might have been within the first weeks, a little north of my town. I saw a Canadian man doing drugs openly in the bus stop. He wasn't doing well. What do you think about the changes done to the town and the country over the past 5 or so years? An additional choice was added and over 280 votes cast before the survey was taken down from an online group. This is Windsor Square, forming part of Uptown. The name Windsor is shared with a place in England and with an English castle. Off of King George Boulevard, a highway named after one of our former kings, is a restaurant that serves Canadian food, with turkey, mashed potatoes, traditional Canadian breakfasts, sandwiches for lunch, Nanaimo bars, and date squares with the Scottish oatmeal crumb topping. And there are family pictures on the wall that show a connection to a local high school. Despite the homey Canadian decor and food, several of the staff members now are from the other side of the globe. The government sharply increased the number of foreign workers it brought into the country. The number of temporary residents was hiked up to above 3 million people, a record high for the country. Many temporary residents become permanent residents. I walked into my bank, and everyone from the front desk to the tills to the people in the cubicles, 100% staff from India. It was not that way before. On the main strip uptown, store after store after store has 100% foreign staff. I don't remember security guards walking around our main mall, or in the pharmacy, or any other places here. Now you see security guards all over, and all of them are from India. The demographics of our small local mall is much different now than it was in 2017, in both staff and customers. The building itself has also undergone some changes. I had a dispute in this mall recently, unlike any other I've had here before. This new customer service is often hostile and rude, and violates and clashes with the local culture. For the first time in my life in my hometown, someone working at my dentist's office was wearing a head covering, a hijab, and that was the same with the school bus driver who went past me. Before, I don't recall seeing one non-Canadian city bus driver driving around my town. Now, when I've ridden the bus, more than half the drivers have not been from this country. Many drivers are not so friendly like before. I've noticed that sometimes buses open their doors now before completely stopping. I'm riding around in a bus in my hometown, but increasingly in a foreign environment. This is what the bus driver was broadcasting on the bus. It is common for locals to lose job opportunities due to all this foreign hiring. I myself was let go from a job only after a few weeks, with the boss claiming he got a new batch of resumes from overseas candidates. Here is the orientation video of another job.
So let's get started with the icebreaker. And basically just wanting to ease us into the topic of gender identity and understanding. So let's get started with where it all begins. For someone who is deeply confused about the gender.
That video was about 54 minutes long. There was no crosswalk painted like this in my town when I was here before. This is new. I have noticed more of these flags in windows than elsewhere. and more public First Nations symbolism has been constructed, and this preamble on the window has been pushed more and made more ubiquitous. Standards have lowered, and there is a new attack against people who care about that. I saw more mistakes with labels in the grocery store, where I also saw a different crowd, people with neck tattoos, shopping carts not put away as much, probably a foreign habit from the new foreign population. For the first time here, cursing within vulgar song was left to broadcast over a shop. I noticed immediately upon returning a different feeling or vibe from people. As I was in the pharmacy, hearing the repetitive pre-recorded voice of the self-checkouts also new in the background, it seemed the people around me were more down, disheartened, stressed. I've also seen mental illness everywhere. Also a strange environment of lies in this country. In 1941, while World War II was raging, with Britain and her Dominion of Canada very much a part of the fighting, 50% of the population in Canada had Scottish, English, or other British Isles ethnicities. 30% had French ethnicity, and 18% other European ancestry. Approximately 1% First Nations, and 1% were all other ethnicities of the world combined. By province during World War II, the population of Prince Edward Island is recorded as having 83% British origins, and the populations of Nova Scotia, Ontario, and British Columbia between 70 and 80%. These numbers were true earlier, and it remained much the same going forward too. With my small Canadian town in the province of British Columbia, Canada, there were also these shared roots. There was also a singular, clear set of local customs to abide by for everyone. It was a true takes a village to raise a child place. It was the mid-2010s when I really noticed and felt the cohesion in my neighborhood having reached a tipping point. The majority population was being overwhelmed to the point where cohesion was breaking down. Members of a foreign group were following their own customs and often ignoring ours. This change in population has only accelerated since.
You know, and I definitely think like down at White Rock Beach, it's a really different feel down there. I don't care for it. Yeah, I won't specify.
It certainly changes because we've got, you know, a huge population now.
There were any additives to it, so yeah, in that regard, no, that's cool.
Well, certainly we've been here for a long time, and it has changed.
It's hard to believe what's happening.
We don't have the infrastructure for all of this. It's already bad, and now it's going to get more. Yeah, I don't like it.
It's hurting the people here, pushing some out. Not to change the character of the place, put people into
At the same time, I worry about the congestion and the infrastructure.
Yes, for sure. That is sad to see a lot of the little homes that were like cabins, small homes, that those are.
I was born in Canada. I've lived in Canada all my life. I'm a minority here.
And I was away and I came back, and it's like,
I couldn't believe what you said.
People who've been here a while, what they think of the changes the last few years. And that's the comments I've been getting. The opinion that the federal government is bringing in too few foreigners has never been a popular opinion, even when going back to the 1960s, the earliest data I could find. Yet, despite consistent Canadian opinion against bringing in a higher number, the government has increased the numbers again and again, and has been doing this for decades. Canadians have been against it. The government has been doing it anyway. Many of us are for maintaining our home. The year I left was the first time in my life I saw foreigners in this special local park in my neighborhood where I grew up. And now being back, sometimes that is every second person or more I see here. Before I left, I was sitting on a bench, and every Canadian that passed me smiled at me, said hello, and asked me how I was. I spoke a little more with one local. The foreign group ignored my greeting, and they ignored the greeting of another local further up the path. There are many stories and interactions like this, and this makes up the daily texture of life. Now, with so much destruction to our community, our customs and hometown ways of doing things lessen and even disappear altogether. It was more a Canadian community
Yeah.
of different classes.
Yeah.
And now it feels like it's just for the rich of the world.
Yeah.
And then the other people are being pushed out or pushed
Yeah.
into hardship.
The mother of someone I knew who lived a couple blocks from me brought over a pie to welcome a new next-door neighbor into the neighborhood. And that newcomer rejected the pie and asked that mum to move out of her own home so a friend from the foreigner's home country could take it. At Christmas time before going, Canadian after Canadian was saying Merry Christmas to the bus driver while exiting the bus, and the driver wished everyone a Merry Christmas too. A young foreigner on that bus, he was new to town, yelled out angrily, chastising people for saying Christmas. It's accelerated even more. I barely heard a Merry Christmas one back now, and while I've always felt the Christmas spirit around here in December, I didn't much this year. It's the least Christmassy it's felt. Halloween, more and more houses go dark and don't celebrate. Now festivals from other religions are put on here for the first time. This event I attended with family, or a similar one, I heard may have no one putting it on anymore. Christmas is the celebration of the birth of Jesus Christ. Easter is the celebration of the resurrection of our Lord.
Oh yes, my mother was pretty tough on me. If I had to come home with homework, I had to get it done. No mucking around. Sit down. Saturday, if you had any homework, you had to do it Saturday, because you ain't going to do it in Sunday.
And what's Sunday?
Sunday, of course, was you went to church, and so it wasn't, as far as my mother was concerned, that Sunday is a special day. I'd go to church with my father, and then in the afternoon we'd go to Sunday school. So Sunday was taken up with the normal procedures of religion.
I had the honor of visiting with another World War II veteran, a gentleman over 100 years old, born in 1922.
Do you have any thoughts about how society has changed?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There's no society anymore.
There is another area that was basically fields when I was younger. It's essentially a whole other town now attached to ours. And on top of that, additional shocking destruction down a street that was a country road going past large lots with some homes, woods and fields, and a corner store before getting to a highway. Now there are new schools and hundreds of houses just built now. Not here when I left. Not here even a year ago or so. It's shocking.
When you go up in behind there, it's just like, even when you get
super high density.
Just in behind the Grandview where 24th is, it's like barracks.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
looks
it's
like
weird.
barracks and bunkhouses.
This area is even more foreign in population. It's especially isolating. This so-called development is developing over things already built and developed. It's uprooting to have the dirt constantly torn up and our things destroyed. Demolition proposal signs are in front of so many places now. There is a looming threat that any place will be toppled.
So you used to live here? Or you
Yeah,
did?
no, when I was a kid. Then the family, we just moved a few blocks, and so I grew up in the whole neighborhood.
Yeah.
It's a big part of home for me.
I have been here 18 years.
So you know the neighborhood, so...
I do.
So
My
you've seen
son
it
grew
change.
up, my son, he got his license here. My husband and I, we've been together 25 years. Just, you know, I mean, not the arguments, also the happy times,
Yeah,
the memories.
yeah.
Yeah, no, you know what, I'm torn by it, but it is what it is. And it's just, the memories. Yeah, I said to the truck driver yesterday pulling out, I said, you're taking my bedroom walls. The kids actually, they got in there the other night because they wanted one of the swings.
This is how the little movie theater uptown looks today. Here is our familiar small-town library that is next to City Hall. This beautiful, spacious, iconic building for our community has been here for decades. There are friendly librarians that have worked here for a long time. There is a proposal to demolish the library and City Hall and have them in a 12-story tower to be constructed elsewhere.
I think the library is perfectly good where it is.
And in this spot to put up 6-story condominium blocks. Here is one of my old schools. It's been demolished for condominiums, aptly named. In the schools, social studies curriculum has been changed. I've seen some of it close up, and it has been disturbing.
They picked what they were interested in, not something the teacher said, I have to read this. This one boy, I can remember reading a book. I don't know what the book was. It was something that had no interest to me. It was based on some kind of computer game. Every boy in the class except one had crawled over to listen to this one report. And I thought, wow, this is successful. I wanted to get kids interested in reading.
I bumped into one of my elementary school teachers who has lived with her family in the area for a long time and has surely taught a lot of us over the years.
Well, at first I taught in the 60s, 1965. I just graduated from UBC. Then I didn't teach again until the 80s. In between, I had 2 children and went back to university and took teacher training. In the 60s, they hired me sight unseen, no interview, and they hired my husband because they wanted me. In the 80s, I couldn't get a job. I substituted, then I taught part-time, and it took quite a few years before I got a continuing job.
So what have been some changes over the years?
Well, when I first started teaching, we were to read the Bible every day to the class and say the Lord's Prayer. I talked to 2 of my friends, younger friends that are still teaching. Something came up online, and I just read a bit of it, and it talked about how the behavior is much worse since the pandemic.
What does having so many ESL students do to the system right now, do you think?
Well, one teacher told me, it's really lowered what she could teach in the class. They have to accommodate huge numbers. They are teaching some things at a lower level, which isn't really fair to others, just, others that grew up here and speak English well. I like the town much better when it was small. We bought property in 1968. On my street, there used to be a community get-together once a year.
Right.
And that ended years ago. I don't know many of the people on my street.
They're always saying, population need more and more and more and more housing. First you have to demolish everything and then start from scratch.
It's destroying, in my opinion, perfectly fine houses.
Yes, the people were living here.
Seeing the population difference now compared to a few years ago in the hospital with staff and patients was again shocking. You also used to be able to walk into a walk-in clinic even in the afternoon and see a doctor. Now you line up early in the morning before the clinic opens to try to get a time for that day. Some other changes. I smell marijuana when I'm walking around. That was legalized for recreational use when I was away. New stores came with that. There's a line and arrows on the promenade now telling you how to walk. If I want to grab a hot chocolate or a coffee and pay cash and use a $10 bill, those in power these days changed the bill, removing our first Prime Minister and Scotsman Sir John A. Macdonald from it and replacing him with someone else.
Last 2 years, it's really changed a lot.
Every summer, my beach town puts on what's called the Sea Festival. It was different this year.
people move away, they come here, they go.
Our home here is where we grow up, absorb what is around us, learn, receive from our elders, and pass down to our next generation. That link has been broken to such a large extent. This is often where we make our friends, where many meet their spouses and raise children. And when we're in a crowd of 20 to 1, or 99 to 1, foreigner to local, it keeps us apart from each other, separated and isolated in a crowd. It deprives us of our community. It determines a lot in many people's lives, and changes lives and changes families. It's also, in a way, not really being home. There is one side of my hometown that has been less changed, and I hope it stays that way. And parts of it I haven't even looked at. I've looked away, closed my eyes on the bus as it drives through. Sometimes you want to keep the images in your head from before all this destruction.
And people's opinions on the new towers and just all the new construction.
Well, it's changed the face of White Rock in a very big way. I live in...
I spoke with a lady from that less demolished part of town.
So I'm really grateful that that side of the peninsula is more untouched.
Yeah, it stayed kind of how it
Yeah,
was.
I mean, the little bungalows are coming down, but you get a single family dwelling going, beside you type thing.
Has it gotten rid of the small town feel a little bit too out here?
Very much so. And that's, again, what I like about the community feel there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we've been there 40 some odd years.
Yeah, it's changed just in the last few years too.
Very much
so. I'm trying to, yeah.
In another town, a 30 or so minute drive away, they're experiencing the same thing. And to service the new population there, the government is extending the SkyTrain. They decided to have it run right through an iconic Canadian restaurant. The first of this restaurant chain was created in Vancouver proper in 1928, and this location has stood here for 44 years. It was a drive-in. Another perfectly intact building being destroyed.
Yeah, we're sad.
Very sad.
Yeah.
Exactly. Talking to the staff in there, they're sad as well.
Yeah. I've done the drive-in. When my kids were small, we'd come to the drive-in all the time. I'm like, this is terrible. They're developing too much, right?
Yep. The development's been, we don't want it,
It's horrible.
Yeah.
Like, all those beautiful acreages, and now there's townhouse and homes and
It's
little
one
tiny
thing if
gardens.
we wanted it, but, we repeatedly don't want it.
And then they're talking about, like, apartment blocks here. Are they crazy or what?
Let's take a bus ride in yet another town, also about a 30-minute drive away. You see around here vans filled up with foreign laborers. This is a farm town with local farm families going back to the 1800s. Talking with locals there, they were visibly upset discussing the coming destruction to their town. Unwanted proposals relentlessly pushed, despite knowing we don't want this change. Something else that stood out to me in this town, a report line. Are you complaining about the government-imposed changes around town? Do you have what the government thinks of as incorrect opinions? Do you know a neighbor you may want to report?
Thank you for calling the Racist Incident Helpline.
Where does it go after I report?
We're United Way, but we're funded through the Attorney General's office, so the reports are for the Attorney General.
Even like overhearing a conversation of someone's opinions?
If it's constituted as racist, yes.
Here is the center of this town. This was much like my hometown center before the changes. I feel good being here. Who looks at this beautiful place, this traditional town center design, with friendly Canadian people, a warm, cohesive, and safe community of belonging, and wants to destroy that? I don't want this destroyed. We want this left alone.
This is ours. It is set to be bulldozed and transformed, and that should be stopped. They call the destruction of our small town centers a revitalization. We never voted for nor wanted the first tower, and when towers were proposed for our main street, we the town spoke out against it.
My name is Lynn Sinclair. I live at 15490 Columbia Avenue. I was born and raised in Whitehall. My grandparents used to have a farm right behind the Players Club at 16th and Johnson Road.
I'm going to ask our Director of Corporate Services, Stina Penny, to give us an update on our submissions.
Thank you, Your Worship. As of 9 o'clock this evening, we had an additional 27 submissions in support, an additional 1,798 submissions against. Your Worship, there was also 7 submissions just providing comments.
We're forced to react to a proposal that had no business being here in the first place. It's a violation of our community plan. Until we decide as a city what we want for our city, that proposal never should have come forward. I'm for proposals that do not fundamentally alter the village character that we have in White Rock.
I don't know if you're calling me. I'm Hazel Uchik. Is that it? You? Okay.
Tay Hazel. I know I'm younger. I know my age probably doesn't work to my advantage here, but I'd like to speak on behalf of a larger group of my peers, the Earl Marriott Secondary Environment Club, and pretty much all of today's youth in White Rock. We are highly opposed to the bus project.
Richard Avison. This is about White Rock that has so much going for it. White Rock with a solid base of concerned taxpayers. White Rock, known across Canada as a seaside location with its unique community atmosphere. Do we find it necessary, in order for the city to pay its bills, to break through the established height ceiling? Do we have to bring greater density of construction? I don't think so.
Madam Mayor and Council, my name is Peggy Douglas. I live at 1371 Foster Street.
This was a well-attended October 2005 City Council meeting. Towers being proposed was so out of character and definitively unwanted for our small town.
And should not be considered a fait accompli, as our taxpayers of White Rock have been betrayed by our mayor and some members of council. Their promises of "I will listen to the people" have been hollow ones indeed. Against our wishes, she courts a large developer who is only interested in money, not the character of our city. A referendum has been denied us on this major historic change to our city.
Meanwhile, the citizenry will lose out on the small town ambience of White Rock that most of us hold so dear.
It would destroy the fabric of our community. Hi, my name is Debbie McGuire. Should this development proceed, my family will be looking for a new place to call home, as will my neighbor and my parents. It doesn't seem fair that a new development should change the character of a city so much that residents are forced to move elsewhere. Hoping that my city council will have the courage to preserve an alternative to urban density, I beg you to make a democratic decision.
We have Sean McHale, Ken McElhose, John Primrose. We have Pauline Mott, Gwyneth Lindsay, Billy Cunningham.
White Rock has never faced a project this big. Democracy is defined in Webster's dictionary as a form of government for the people by the will of the majority of the people.
It was clear where the town stood. At that time, everyone I knew was against the proposed towers and was for keeping our small town intact. Small town, not metro town, was the slogan of a community action group that formed. This public hearing was broadcast to family living rooms across South Surrey and White Rock.
It gives me great joy to see this community come to life. It saddens me that we come to this level, to this point, with this development issue. I too am a parent. I'm a homeowner at 14757 Green Drive. It's not all of us that will be here in the next 100 years to see how the footprint holds up. The legacy that you are represented to leave for our children, for our future, is important to each and every one of us.
A comment was just made about the heart dying out of our community. I do not think the heart is dying out of our community. We just have to get through this.
People don't want the high rise in the city. When I talk to council, I like to think I'm talking to equals. We certainly aren't talking about a parent-child relationship.
Shirley Andresic?
It's a no from our home.
Mayoral candidate Judy Forrester was quoted in the Peace Arch News as saying there would never be high rises in White Rock.
Please respect the democratic process. That is the right thing to do.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Susan Raycraft. This developer's proposal is too dense and too high. I can't put it any more simply.
Knowing we were against it, City Council approved construction anyway. The towers did not appear immediately, and it was some more time until the effects were more fully felt. Building up and building out. Those who voted in favor of the first towers were voted out at the next election, but the towers did not come down, and more eventually have gone up. Almost all the towers here presently were added when I was away and are being built now.
This is not for the common people.
It's immoral to bring in all these foreigners and build all this housing for them, demolishing our towns in the process.
But now I couldn't afford the White Rock if I hadn't bought then. How much do we have to lose before the population goes, whoa, stop it?
House by house, it's being taken from us. This is what it looks like when those in power choose globalization over nationalism, when they aid and abet the exploitation of our home.
Unfortunately, this country is being exploited.
It's been exploited.
The status quo works for some, fueling some industries, lining some pockets, and furthering the warped worldview of others. It's not working for us.
Made up before they even come and ask you. It doesn't matter what you say, they do what they want.
Who is in power? Are they us? Do they care about us? Where is our sovereignty? Being back, there is a crushing feeling, a top-down forcing onto us of things we don't want. It is a stifling environment in many ways. Six and a half years or so away, I've returned. It's a very odd feeling to see foreigners from the other side of the globe walking around now in my very local neighborhood streets.
Like, I kind of look at it and think, I don't know if I will stay here, you know. I originally, when I moved here, I thought, oh, this is where I will live my years out, and now, I don't know. Because if it's like this already, how's it going to be in another 10 years and in another 10 years?
Housing for foreigners, jobs for foreigners, locals get displaced. That's not right.
Go to BC, I'm done here.
So here I am. I am a witness to injustice. I recorded some of what's around me. This is my hometown. We are connected to this place and to our people that came before us and are to come. And in 2024, 2025, these mid-2020s, a lot has declined, and a lot isn't right here. We are a people. We have traditions. We have a culture. and this is our home.
And I certainly hope that they don't take that tree down.
We're not just individuals, and this isn't a marketplace. No matter how many of us are pushed out, have sadly passed, moved, or are the one in a crowd of another 99, we are the locals, and this is our home. It will always be our home. We don't want our town destroyed, our houses demolished. These houses are in the Canadian style. This is our architecture. Our parents, grandparents, and ancestors lived here. Houses built in the 1930s, 40s, 50s are sitting here, priced so we can't have them anymore. Priced so we don't have kids running around in those yards or playing out front on the street. All these houses we could buy, fix up, live with our spouse and children. Instead, they sit there, waiting to be unnecessarily bulldozed, so multi-unit buildings can be put over top and sold to the foreign market.
I also think that White Rock was really built on these really different and unique houses. And I think it should kind of stay that way.
Another lady's like, my plants, these were my plants, that was my plum tree. One guy asked for the baby swing. He goes, all of my kids grew up here. He's just like, that's where my memories were.
These homes went from one of our generations to the next. Now, who is taking possession of them?
Connor McGuire.
First of all, I'd like to congratulate BOSA on designing a beautiful podium. Unfortunately, it's not the first two stories that I'm here to talk about. At first, the BOSA proposal didn't worry me at all. I knew after a simple referendum, the answer would be heard loud and clear. These buildings are too high and too dense. Knowing council members represented the people of White Rock, I knew that the results of this referendum would be used as means to decline BOSA's proposal. After a few weeks, however, it was made clear that no referendum was to be taken. After just recently taking the title of voter, I was displeased to hear that I would have no outlet to use this long-awaited power. The fate of my town was to be decided for me by the highest bidder. After being tricked into the false dichotomy of high-rises equal a more lively city and no high-rises equal the ultimate downfall of White Rock, the results of the $17,000 survey still return with the majority rules. Council is at risk of sacrificing the beauty of this city for the satisfaction of the minority. This is the first of many offers to come, and if we settle for this proposal, then we settle for mediocrity, we settle for annexation, and we settle for the loss of our identity.
If you wanna go, I'm down. Darling, we'll make the biggest thing.
There was no, Marine Drive was not paved. It was a dirt road and a bunch of little houses.
He's the architect, and you're the developer.
I would love to just jump in for a minute, sorry, just to introduce the developer. This is Canmore Damrat.
4 years old, and I lived at the bottom of Maple Street. Great-grandmother's house was just down from me, and we used to walk on West Beach and pick up bark for her wood stove. The sidewalks were wooden then up there, and it was a big deal when she walked me all the way up over the hill, for lunch at a little restaurant.
I moved here when I was 7. But we only lived over here on 32nd. To me, it changed in 1971.
Yeah, I think.
Here too?
When we bought property in 1968, there was no traffic light in the area, nowhere in White Rock, nowhere in South Surrey. Can you imagine it now without any traffic lights? The first one went in 1969 at 152nd and 16. That was, I remember when my husband, we had the property, and he said, you know, they really need a traffic light there. It was a 4-way stop, and it was a very busy one.
Because I'm forced to speak against something. I'm not allowed to speak about what I'm for. So I'm going to anyways, because I'm not going to be painted in the corner that you've tried to paint us into. I'm going to tell you what I am for. I'm for retaining publicly owned land. My dad was on city council when they bought that land. He bought it for the future of this city. And I won't stand by and let you give it away.